120 phase underscore 4 underscore determining underscore the underscore characteristics underscore and underscore qualities underscore of underscore the underscore ground. Phase 4 determining the characteristics and qualities of the ground. Then Bodhisattva Vajra of pristine awareness requested of the Bhagavan, O teacher, Bhagavan, what is the nature and what are the sublime qualities of the omnipresent Lord and immutable sovereign called the ground Shugatagava? May the Bhagavan please reveal this. The Bhagavan replied, O great being, listen without distraction. The unified nature of the essence of all the Shugatas, the omnipresent Lord and immutable sovereign, is unsurpassed. There is nothing higher. This is the great, profound absolute space of phenomena. This is peace, nirvana. It is free of attachment to all of samsara and nirvana. Unborn and unarisen, it is imbued with knowledge. The great perception of pure primordial consciousness is imbued with the discerning vision of all-pervasive wisdom, free of obscuration. The complete freedom of this ground, with its sublime qualities of the great perfection, is like this: Buddhas are not improved by goodness, and sentient beings are not contaminated by evil. There is no ignorance. Because there is no ignorance, there is no substrate. Because there is no substrate, there is no grasping at the I. Because there is no grasping at the I, there is no self. Because there is no self, there are no external objects, either. Because there is neither self nor objects, there is also no grasping. Because there is no grasping, there is also no conditioned consciousness. Son of the family, because the ground Shugatagava does not arise within the three times, it is free of the extreme of birth. Because it never ceases and becomes nothing, it is free of the extreme of cessation. Because it does not fall into the categories of existence and reality, it is free of the extreme of permanence. Because it is not simply non-existent, but is established as the universal ground of both samsara and nirvana, it is free of the extreme of nihilism. Because there is no origin from which it originally arose, it is free of the extreme of coming. Because there is no destination to which it finally goes, it is free of the extreme of going. Because all of samsara and nirvana is not other than the nature of the ground Shugatagava, it is free of the extreme of diversity. Because all the phenomena of samsara and nirvana arise distinctly and not merged together, it is free of the extreme of unity. O son of the family, because the uniformly pervasive ground Shugatagava transcends all biases and extremes, it is called the door of liberation of emptiness. Because this ground cannot be indicated by words, analogies, or reference of any kind, it is called the door of liberation of signlessness. Because the ground Shugatagava acquires confidence within itself, and there is not the slightest desire for liberation by means of any other fruition, it is called the door of liberation of desirelessness. Son of the family, all the inexhaustible ornamental wheels of the enlightened body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of all the jhanas of the three times arise from the ground Shugatagava. It is like this: all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are unmodified and naturally empty in the nature of the ground Shugatagava, so they are Dharma. Ultimate reality is not empty of materiality, but rather, all facets of primordial consciousness and sublime qualities of enlightenment are spontaneously actualized in it, as if it were a composite of them, so it is called Kaya. In the ground Shugatagava, all the inexhaustible ornamental wheels of the displays of the Kaya's primordial consciousness, and Buddha fields are naturally perfected as enjoyments, so it is called Sambhoga. In this, all wisdom and sublime qualities are spontaneously actualized, as if it were a composite of them, so it is called Kaya. Without departing from the nature of the ground Shugatagava, since any emanation is naturally present as nothing other than the Shugatagava itself, it is called Nirmana. Since all the inexhaustible ornamental wheels of the enlightened body, speech, and mind are spontaneously actualized in it, as if it were a composite of them, it is called Kaya. Since the three Kayas are not other than its essential nature, it is called Svabhava. Because it is unmodified and perfectly spontaneously actualized, it is called Kaya. Since the ground of these four kayas is unchanging, it is called immutable. Because it is endowed with the 7 indestructible Vajra qualities, it is called Vajra. Here are its 7 qualities. It is invulnerable to all mental afflictions and habitual propensities. It is indestructible by all maras and obstacles. It is by nature originally pure, so it is real. It cannot be contaminated by good or bad qualities, so it is incorruptible. It does not change from its own nature, so it is stable. It can penetrate everything, including even the subtlest of cognitive obscurations, so it is totally unobstructable. It cannot be modified by any kind of joy or sorrow, so it is totally invincible. Because this immutable Vajra, which cannot be conquered or destroyed, is spontaneously actualized, as if it were a composite of all the facets of primordial consciousness and sublime qualities, it is called Kaya. Sons and daughters of the family, listen well. In the self-emergent Buddha, the Dharmakaya, the spontaneously actualized inner glow of the Shugatagarbha called the cask of jewels, the 5 Buddha fields, 5 Buddha families, 5 consorts, 5 facets of primordial consciousness, 5 colors, and 5 wisdoms are naturally perfect, without modification. First, here is how the ground is spontaneously actualized as the nature of the 5 Buddha fields. The Buddha field of Ganavyuha refers not to an objective physical world and its sentient inhabitants but to the spontaneous formation of the essential nature of the ground Shugatagarbha, the absolute space of phenomena. In the absence of any cardinal or intermediate directions that can be identified as substantially existent, its placement in the center is a mere convention. The great absolute space of the ground is the Buddha field of Irati, which refers to its aspect of great bliss, and not to a region that is created by objective conditions or by some being. It is said to be in the east, but this is a mere convention, not to be taken literally. Since all the splendor and bountiful, sublime qualities of enlightenment are self-emergent in the ground, it is called the Buddha field of Srimit. This bounty of sublime qualities is nominally said to be in the south, but that is a mere convention. The Buddha field of Sukhavati is so called because this appearance of the ground transcends all miserable suffering. Its placement in the west is merely nominal. The Buddha field of Kamaprasiddhi is so called because all the inexhaustible ornamental wheels of the kayas, facets of primordial consciousness, Buddha fields, and displays are effortlessly perfected as they emerge of themselves. That, too, is merely nominally said to be in the north. References to the directions and Buddha fields artificially point to ultimate reality, which is devoid of objective characteristics and words. References concerning that which is to be purified and the means of purification are made simply for the sake of disciples who mistakenly grasp at autonomous existence and who rely on causal methods in order to be liberated in the absolute space of the fruitional great wisdom. O son of the family, here is how the ground, self-emergent great primordial consciousness, is wholly present in the essential nature of the 5 Buddha families. The Buddha family is so called because the Shugatagarbha, the absolute space of phenomena, is free of conceptual elaboration. The Vajra family is so called because the ground cannot be conquered or destroyed. The Jewel family is so called because all sublime qualities are wholly present in the appearances of the ground. The Lotus family is so called because the ground is undefiled by all causal conditions and habitual propensities. The Karma family is so called because all enlightened activities are completely accomplished without work or effort in the ground. Without being established as anything partial, the ground Shugatagarbha is the Buddha, free of signs and names. This is ultimate. The path of skillful means artificially points to it in accordance with samsara as something relying on causes in order to achieve results. This is relative. O son of the family, here is how the essential nature of the ground Shugatagarbha, primordial great emptiness, is artificially presented as the 5 consorts. Buddhadakini is so called because the ground Shugatagarbha is like a pregnant mother in the expanse of the space of samsara and nirvana. Vajradakini is so called because ground absolute space is absolute space itself, free of movement and change through the three times. Ratnadakini is so called because in the appearances of the ground, it is self-emergent ultimate reality itself, in which sublime qualities are spontaneously actualized. Padmadakini is so called because the ground is absolute space, free of attachment. Karmadakini is so called because it is absolute space itself, which is free of activity and effort and in which enlightened activities are thoroughly accomplished. The term consort refers to boundless great emptiness, self-emergent absolute space, in which the Buddha fields and 5 Buddha families are synthesized as one in the ground. The consorts are only nominally designated, for they are not established as separate. This is ultimate. O son of the family, this very ground is said to be of the nature of the 5 facets of primordial consciousness. It is like this, the primordial consciousness of the absolute space of phenomena is so called because all phenomena are naturally present in all pervasive absolute space, the essential nature of which is primordially empty. Mirror-like primordial consciousness is so called because ultimate reality is self-illuminating and free of obscuring veils. The primordial consciousness of equality is so called because all of samsara and nirvana is equal in the great purity and equality of the absolute space of phenomena. Discerning primordial consciousness is so called because unimpeded great primordial consciousness knows and perceives the inner glow. The primordial consciousness of accomplishment refers to the thorough accomplishment of self-emergent purity and freedom. These are not established as being separate. Rather, they are merely conventional names attributed to great, profound, luminous primordial consciousness that is present in the nature of the primordial ground, the Shugatagava. They are not separate or different. The empty aspect of the ground absolute space is indigo, its stainless aspect is white, its majestic, sublime qualities are yellow, its freedom from contamination by faults is red, and its perfect spontaneous actualization is merely named green. In the nature of the ground, self-emergent great wisdom is like this. Clear wisdom is so called because it illuminates all the unclear facets of primordial consciousness and sublime qualities of the domain of the ground Shugatagava. Pervasive wisdom is so called because it pervades the totality of the ground Shugatagava. Liberating wisdom is so called because it liberates the impure realm of samsara into the pure state of Buddhahood. Conquering wisdom is so called because it conquers all karma, mental afflictions, and habitual propensities in absolute space, which transcends causality. Uniting wisdom is so called because it unites samsara and nirvana in the absolute space of great purity and equality. Seeing the face of such great wisdom is like the rising sun in the sky. It overwhelms all obscurations, just as the sun outshines the constellations of stars, until it brings you to the state of omniscience, perfect Buddhahood. Great wisdom is like the conflagration at the end of the eon, for it incinerates all karma, mental afflictions, and habitual propensities, as if they were aphids. Great wisdom is like a great ocean, for it gathers all sublime dharmas, just as the ocean gathers all rivers. Great wisdom is like space, for it encompasses all sublime dharmas, just as space encompasses the physical world and its sentient inhabitants. Great wisdom is the sole eye of primordial consciousness, for just by opening it, you will truly perceive the nature of existence of ultimate reality, Sakness. When a wretched person, overwhelmed by maras, sees his own face of great wisdom, in that very instant that individual becomes enlightened as the Dharmakaya, Samantabhadra. Then Bodhisattva Vajra of pristine awareness asked the Bhagavan, Bhagavan, omnipresent Lord and immutable Sovereign, what are the names for the great vision of pure primordial consciousness, the illumination by the lamp of all-pervasive primordial consciousness? He replied, Son of the family, it is called by 8 names, as follows. 1. The door of pure primordial consciousness is obscured by habitual propensities, it is covered in ignorance, deluding those in samsara. Because it knows by opening the eye of great, all-pervasive wisdom, it is called pristine awareness. 2. Because it is the great secret of all the jhanas, it is secret, and because it is the pinnacle of all the yanas, it is called mantra. It is called Vajra because pristine awareness, the Shugatagava, is endowed with the 7 Vajra qualities. It is called Yana because it holds itself without being transformed by all the sublime qualities of pure Buddhahood or all the good and evil of the suffering of impure samsara. 3. It is called reality because it encompasses all authentic realities, and it is called ultimate because it is ultimate among all phenomena. Because it transcends all faults and defilements, it is called pure, and because it is naturally replete with all the kayas, facets of primordial consciousness, Buddha fields, displays, and sublime qualities of enlightenment, it is called full. All of samsara and nirvana is encompassed in the ground Shugatagava, which is uniformly pervaded and liberated by omnipresent great wisdom. So this great mind, which is unthinkable, is known as mind. 4. It is called the ground, for it is the great, universal foundation of samsara and nirvana. It is originally pure, for it is primordially uncontaminated by faults and defilements. It is perfection, for the doors of spontaneous actualization are perfected, and it is great, for its perfection is unrivaled. 5. It is spontaneously actualized, for all the sublime qualities of the inexhaustible ornamental wheels of enlightened body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities are spontaneously actualized in it. It is called youthful, for it is totally free of aging, death, and deterioration. It is called vase, for it illuminates the depths and inner glow of the Shugatagava, without the periphery of spontaneous actualization ever being breached, and it is called kaya, for it is the perfection of all facets of primordial consciousness and sublime qualities, as if they were all compiled together. 6. It is called Bindu, for it roundly encompasses all things, while transcending all the edges and corners of the intellect, mentation, and thought, and it is called soul, for it is none other than the essential nature of all of samsara and nirvana. 7. It is called samsara, for it revolves in the impure 3 realms of existence, and it is called nirvana, for it transcends that. It is called complete, for everything is completely subsumed in the great absolute space of the ground Shugatagava, and it is called consummation, for it comprehends all phenomena. 8. It is called Vajra, for the Dharmakaya, pristine awareness that is present in the ground, is endowed with the 7 Vajra qualities, and it is called essence, for it is the essence of all phenomena. These 8 synonyms do not have different reference, and apart from the mere names, the basis of these expressions transcends all conceptual elaboration. The withdrawal of the inner glow of all the sublime qualities of the ground is like uniformly pervasive space. A symbol for this is the covering of darkness, even though space does not become bright or dark, and a symbol for great wisdom illuminating this nature is the rising sun. O son of the family, there are 3 aspects to following the path. They are as follows: the Nirmanakaya, which is spacious consciousness whereby thoughts are released in their own place, and which takes compassion as the path; the Sambhogakaya, which takes the radiance of spontaneous actualization as the path, and which thereby takes the manifest nature as the path; and the Dharmakaya of the great expanse, which is primordial resting, entailing the unmodified, great settling in the essential nature, and which takes the essential nature as the path. Whichever of these 3 you take as the path, by practicing with keen, unflagging enthusiasm, you will ultimately be liberated in the nature of all 3. This is a sublimely important point. O son of the family, primordial consciousness is the faculty that illuminates the obscurity of the ground, the great expanse that is beyond all articulation. Beginners recognize consciousness that is immensely vast and inexpressible, which is not the conditioned consciousness that rises and passes and conceptually roves about in the realm of appearances. If they take it as the path and rest in its nature, this is the radiance of great wisdom, and it naturally dispels all the defilements of ignorance. With the manifestation of the great wisdom of the inner glow, and with the emergence of the expanse of the space treasury of ultimate reality, it is certain that they will completely perfect all the sublime qualities of the great perfection, pristine awareness that transcends causality, free of all extremes, in the non-dual nature of absolute space and primordial consciousness. This king of pristine awareness, free of extremes, is ever so profound, potent, swift to realize, and unsurpassed. It arises as the good fortune of people with superior faculties, so it is very subtle and difficult to behold. Now that the teachings of the profound, supreme, unsurpassed fruitional jnana have degenerated, I am revealing this quintessential pith instruction, which determines the ground, investigates the bifurcation into the apprehender and the apprehended, holds the key to differentiating the two truths, and distinguishes between the mind and pristine awareness, for the sake of blind people who regard cause and effect as the definitive truth and who proudly mistake understanding for realization. Servants of Mara, with the perverse aspirations, 100 million miles away from this teaching, who revile it, impose the false projections on it, or treat it as something laughable, have no karmic connection with me, so they are far removed. On the other hand, fortunate ones who are my heart essence disciples, take note of this point and put it into practice. O son of the family, all sentient beings are never separated, even for an instant, from the primordial great perfection of the sublime qualities of the ground. Nevertheless, just as water that is fluid by nature freezes and becomes hard, so do sentient beings cling to the three realms of samsara and become deluded, without the ground ever deviating into benefit or harm. Here is the way in which pristine awareness is superior to the ground. The ground is like holding a wish-fulfilling jewel in your hand, however, because you don't recognize it, you mistake it for dirt or a rock, fail to treat it with respect, and therefore achieve no siddhis. Pristine awareness is like recognizing the wish-fulfilling jewel and, by treating it with respect, acquiring everything you need and want. The ground is like a colorless sky obscured by darkness, while pristine awareness is like dawn breaking and the sun rising. The ground is like the ownerless retinue, treasures, and self-emergent bounties of a great king, while pristine awareness is like the owner who enjoys all these things. The ground is like being tormented by the suffering of an illness while a healing balm lies hidden beneath your bed, whereas pristine awareness is like recognizing the balm as medicine, applying it, being relieved from the misery caused by the illness, and living happily. O son of the family, I have never been separated from you, not even for an instant, since time immemorial, but it is only now that you behold my face. Now, do not depart from this indivisible nature. If you depart from me, like before, you will not meet with me again for incalculable eons.